Hey everyone, welcome back to Norton Man Reviews. I am John Norton and we are looking at Astonishing X-Men. I like X-Men, I like them a lot in different incarnations, different eras. I grew up really getting exposed to them during the Jim Lee era, but then as I got older, I was really into the Joe Madureira, Andy Kubert, Onslaught storyline. Obviously, I did a huge focus on that storyline, the Age of Apocalypse, which we're going to get to, but I wanted to give, before I go into that whole thing, I want to do some other stuff first. But even some of the incarnations, like so Astonishing X-Men, I always remember enjoying this. Written by Joss Whedon, who's one of my favorite, I don't know, filmmakers. Like I really like Buffy. I loved Angel. I liked Angel more than Buffy. Loved Firefly. Serenity is probably in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Loved Avengers. Like I loved it so much, and I felt that he doesn't get enough credit for the MCU, especially in those first 10 years, for what he was able to accomplish. People think more on the negativity of him from Justice League and some of the controversies and like his behavior during Buffy and during Justice League and all that, and that's unfortunate. But it doesn't sound like he did anything too terribly harsh, like some other people have done. But he just kind of seemed to have disappeared, and we don't really see much work from him, which sucks. But he got tasked to do Astonishing X-Men after Grant Morrison's run ended. So I looked at the first issue, where the X-Men went away from their black leather that they were wearing and went back to their costumes, their colorful costumes. And they were going to, like, this villain group, this bad guy took some hostages at a party, and they were going to go intervene and go save the day, right? At the same time, this doctor made an announcement that she found a cure for mutants, like she could cure them of the mutant disease. So, kind of a couple of things going on. So, let's start. The current lineup is Cyclops, White Queen, Wolverine, Beast, and Kitty Pryde. There's 5 of them right now. That's a cool thing with Wolverine's claws. So, it starts off with like these. It's in like this police car, and he's talking to whoever's in the back seat, or it must be a camera that they're looking at. And he's talking about they're like going up to like what they feel is like a domestic violence issue. There's neighbors are reported screaming. So they're talking about like, yeah, we're gonna go in and defuse the situation, and they're looking through the window and they're hearing these fucking screams, and then you see these cops like through this back door or somewhere, and they're just like, they're freaked out about something. And then it looks like they're watching this video in this auditorium. Here's the doctor who announced the cure, and she's talking about this little girl who we saw in the first issue, and about how her nightmares come to life. And usually, like, the mutant powers manifest during puberty or when kids are older, but they did it younger. It happened younger with this one. And her nightmares manifested and apparently killed her parents. And so she's like, we understand that this isn't her fault. She understands this isn't her fault, but like, you're talking about the mutant strain is a disease, but it can be eliminated and safely reversed. So, yeah, this was what happened. Manifested this nightmare thing that just killed everybody. So here are the X-Men coming down to this, it's kind of like a party, like a rich people party. And I like that they're in the Blackbird and there's this like shade of red over it. And White Queen is mentioning It's an annual fundraiser. Preservation of Victorian architecture is the first year I missed it. So she's kind of, she was always like in that social group, but now she missed it for whatever reasons. So they're like, okay, there's hostages down there, and there's people with weapons. So this is a dangerous situation. So let's be careful. And then the biggest question is him. I don't know if he's a mutant. Maybe he is. Maybe he's being pinged by Cerebro. The design on him is I don't find him terrifying. I don't find him intimidating. I think he's just kind of a very forgettable villain. If I had to give a critique about this book, that would definitely be it. But I do like he says this. He's like a moth. A single moth would have made more noise touching down. So he knows that the X-Men have come here, but like they were so silent. Like a moth would have been louder. So like the guys in the masks, the henchmen, they're getting like amped up. They're like, oh yeah, let's do it. Bring on the muties. So you see this one lady laying on the ground, and Kitty Pryde phases up through the the ground, grabs her, put her mouth over her so she doesn't scream, and phases her down. Like takes this lady away from danger. White chicks, okay. And then this guy starts freaking out. Starts shooting aimlessly. And he's like yelling at somebody who's not there, and the bad guy here is like, who are you talking to? And he's like, looks at him, looks back, and looks at him again. He's like, my swim coach. He's like, and the bad guy, I don't know his name, but he's like, yeah, Miss Frost, White Queen, she's here messing with your heads. He's like, turn up your scrambler so she can't do that, and go hot on weapons. He's like, this is going to happen fast. And here you see Kitty Pryde getting another guy out of the way. So then Beast comes like swinging down through the window, crashing through. Cyclops comes from bursting through the side wall, and Wolverine comes from above. And White Queen must have come through with Cyclops, and she's in her diamond form. She has a second mutation. So she's like nearly indestructible at this point. Clotheslines this guy's, and Kitty Pryde taking out a guy, tripping him while Beast jump kicks him, I guess. So the X-Men team just comes bursting through like badasses. Takes out all the henchmen. And this bad guy, he's like, you don't disappoint. And they're talking like, this doesn't have to go any further. And Wolverine's like, he's just testing us. And he's like, yeah, I want to see what you would do. And then he pulls out this weapon, which I find is the dumbest looking weapon. It's this round thing, and he's holding it here. Is that a good design of a weapon? Is that something that would be versatile and, I don't know, useful? It doesn't even have a handle on it. I don't know. I just thought this was dumb. So, fight goes on again. And again, it just lets the action tell the story, not littered with words everywhere. I don't want to put a dig on Chris Claremont because he came up with some of the greatest X-Men stories of all time, but some of his writing was tough to get through. So Cyclops shoots him, he deflects it. Wolverine's jumping, and he deflected the shot, and it hit Kitty Pryde. Why she couldn't phase, just must have caught her by surprise. So hits Wolverine up here. Beast comes diving down. But before he can, he just slashes at Wolverine's stomach, abdomen, whatever. Wolverine just keels over. That's a fucking statement right there. Anybody else would be fucking dead. So Beast and him are wrestling around, and they go flying back and collide into Cyclops. White Queen in her diamond form comes and gives him a good old sucker punch in the mouth. But he grabs her by the throat, and he says, I am Ord of the Break World. Okay, that's his name, Ord. Dumb name. And it's like, we stuff our pillows with diamonds. He's like, I don't care that you're diamond. That means nothing to me. And then he's like, I am disappointed in you guys. I thought you'd be better at this. Wolverine's trying to get up. And then he looks behind him and says, wait. And fucking Lockheed comes out of nowhere. You didn't see Lockheed in the first issues. He comes out of nowhere, and he's like the pet of Kitty Pryde. He's always with her, so he just comes out of nowhere and just like French fries his fucking face, and that hurts him. And what happens here? Does he go flying out, jumping out? Looks like it's down, like he flew upward. I don't know, that doesn't quite make sense. So Kitty's like, oh, good boy, you found me. You're the best X-Dragon ever. Wolverine tells him, like, yeah, we should make him team leader. So big fight, but X-Men save the day, right? So they're like, okay, now comes the hard part. They have to go address the press and the world. Like, they're not just here to like keep the place safe for mutants or from mutants, you know, like they don't have to just fight the Magnetos and Apocalypse and all the mutant villains. Like, they're here to just protect the world, like the Avengers and like the Fantastic Four. So he comes out and he just starts talking with the press, and he's like, we came because we're in trouble. And they start, you know, just more chit-chattering back and forth. And White Queen is addressing this guy, Mr. Langford. And she's pissed off at him because she's like been invited to this fucking event every single year, but now she is public as a mutant, so she didn't get an invite. So she's pissed, and she's like, tell me, what would it like to spend the rest of your life obsessed with the works of Leroy Neiman? I mean, sexually. So she's threatening to just fuck with him. And the press is saying, like, hey, Dr. McCoy, do you have any comment on this so-called mutant cure? And he's like, wait, I'm sorry, what? Cure? Like, it was announced while they were on their way, so they didn't even hear about it. So some time has passed. They're back at the X-Mansion. Some of the kids are freaking out about, like, this announcement of the cure. They're confused, terrified. And they're talking about, and Cyclops is like, the first thing we got to do is find out if this is a hoax or if this is true. And Beast is like, no, I know this woman. She's smart. If anyone were able to find anything, it's her. And White Queen is like, okay, then we'll have to kill her. If she can do this, we have to get rid of her. And Kitty's like, okay, that's a good thought. Wolverine's on board with that. And they're just having this debate about should this be allowed. And they're like, if the government gets a hold of this thing, they're going to force people to take this cure if it is real. So there's like a lot of implications of this cure. And Cyclops is like, yeah, this is like a coincidence with this bad guy Ord. He drew us out for a reason. Right before the doctor went public with the cure, so like something's going on. And Cyclops is just kind of doubting himself. He says, like, the professor would know what to do. I don't know where Xavier is at this point. Yeah, I don't know. So they're like, okay, well, let's get some rest. Nothing we can do about this right this second. And then as they're all leaving, White Queen wants to have a word with Kitty Pryde. And they start saying, like, White Queen tells her that she asked for Kitty Pryde to come. But Kitty's, like, worried that Scott is acting weird with her influence. You know, they're talking about murdering somebody, and he didn't even, like, he didn't even flinch. I think this is the beginning of Cyclops kind of going down a more militaristic style of character and command. And so they're talking about this, and White Queen is saying, I'm an X-Man. It's like a big deal, but it doesn't I don't always agree with what being an X-Man does. So she says, like, if I ever go overboard, I need someone like you, Kitty, to, like, kind of watch me and keep me in check. You know, make sure I don't go too far. So Kitty says, and if you go back in, like, her first appearance, the first day, the X-Men were ambushed by the Hellfire Club by the White Queen. And she says, I learned more about good and evil in that one day I have ever before or since, and I was 13. When I think about evil, whenever I think about the concept of evil, yours is the face I see. I don't have to watch you, Miss Frost. I can smell you, she says as she phases through and just leaves her alone to her thoughts. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. So we go back to this laboratory. There's these military dudes up above them. Like you see Beast there, jumping over them silently, infiltrating this area, climbing up the side of the wall. He's cutting through the glass, dropping through the laser grid. He disables the alarm here. He's climbing on the walls, doing some stealthy shit. But all of a sudden, the lights click on, and there's the doctor. And they're like, hello, hello. It's like, it's been a long time. They've met each other before. And she's like, did you really think you could break in here? He's like, you think I wouldn't try? So they start talking about the cure here. And she's trying to rationalize why she made it and what it's good for. And Beast is like, stop. I'm not here to discuss the ethics of it. I'm not here to destroy it. He's like, I just want to know if it works. And he has this look, this sad look on his face. Like, is he thinking about taking the cure if it's real? I mean, he's this beast. He's this animal beast looking thing. I'm sure he wants to look a little normal. So, yeah, so and it ends right there. That's the end of the issue. That's the cliffhanger, is Beast thinking about taking the cure. So there's Astonishing X-Men number 2. Some cool action, some cool character beats, setting up this world, setting up the story. Kind of a boring villain. I don't think he gets any more interesting as time goes on. So, yeah, that's what it is. I like this storyline, and I'm excited to kind of continue looking at it. So, hit that like button. Tell me what you think about the X-Men. Are you enjoying the X-Men 97 storyline? I sure am. It's making me, especially after that 5th issue, makes me want to look at the first few issues of Grant Morrison's run with the E for Extinction storyline, because they lifted some stuff from that storyline for that last episode. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Find me. I mean, look up my Instagram page and follow me there. Instagram Norton Art, or on Facebook Norton Man Art and Comics. I do my own art, my own comics. So thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.